In part 2 of this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to animate this car going down the spline in a similar way that we did in the example that you saw in the introduction. So what I've done since I finished building the trackway there is I've just built this very, very simple car, put a checker texture on it so that we can see what's going on. I've got some wheels here as well that I've just made, and I've linked those wheels to the body of the car, so when the car moves, the wheels will go with it. If you don't know how to do that, it's quite simply up over here in the top left, select and link, left click on your object, link it to the parent object, and then when you move the parent object, everything goes with it. So what I'll do now is I'll select that main body, I'll go to my motion panel, I'll come up to position, assign controller, just as I did with the posts going down the path here. I'll say path constraint, I'll add my path, there we go, and I'll say follow. Now actually I want this to not go over 100 frames because 100 frames is going to be quite quick. It's going to be, actually no, it might not be. Let's just have a look at this. Okay, I'll take 100 frames, that'll be fine. I think that's at, okay, that's NTSC, so that's 30 frames a second. You might want to change that at some point. I'm going to select the spline now as well, and I'm going to move that down so the wheels at least look as if they're on the ground vaguely. There we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the wheels rotating. Okay, so let's change everything to local here, and they're probably going to rotate around Y. So I'll select the wheel, just select it, right click, come down to wiring parameters, transform, rotation, Y rotation, then I'll click on the car, the box 082, I'll say transform position. Now because the XYZ controller has been removed and replaced with a path constraint, what we've got now is the percent. So when an object animates along a path, it animates along a percentage along that path. So we're going to link that there. And we're going to say the percent drives the rotation. And I'm going to say percent times 50 because I rather suspiciously have been playing around with this. I'm going to connect. And now you see my wheel is spinning backwards. So I will say minus percent times 50. Update. And now as the car moves forward, the wheel is rotating to make it look as if it's actually going along with the car. And you've done none of that for keyframing. You don't have to do anything, it's free, it's brilliant. So I will do exactly the same with this wheel at the back here. Let's just go to my select. There we go. So right click on that. I'm not quite sure why I'm not getting any selection here. Select. Okay, that's why. I'm having a redraw error with my screen. There we go, you can see as I mouse over the menu is appearing now. I assume this is to do with Camtasia. I'm going to say wire parameters, transform, rotation, Y rotation. Click on the body of the car, transform, rotation, percentage. Percent drives rotation by 50%, connect. Let's just double check. That kind of looks like it's turning around the right way. It's difficult to tell. Do they both look as if they're turning the right way around? No, that looks like it's going the wrong way around. I'll do minus and update. That's better. You can see now it's turning. I'll close this off. It's turning exactly the right way. Let's come back. Do the same for the other wheels. We might as well while we're here. Transform, rotation, Y rotation, car, transform, position, percent. Connect times 50. Update. So again, that's minus percent. Yep, moving nicely. Close that window down, select the last wheel, right click, and again I've got a redraw error on my screen. So I'll say wire parameters, transform, rotation, Y rotation, select the car, transform, position, percent drives, rotation, minus percent times 50. Now you may find that this takes, when you're doing this, it takes a little bit of experimentation just to see what's right, what isn't right. Obviously, when you get your wiring parameters dialog up, you've got a percent, which is the thing you want to be the driver. This then becomes the driven, so that's the direction of flow of control. It could be either way, which can always be a bit dodgy. Of course, we want to update that. Your minus percent, your times 50, this is all experimental. But what I will say is that for every percent that this car moved along the spline, that wheel was going to turn around by 1 full revolution, or in this case by a fraction of a revolution. So what we had to do was we then had to say, right, okay, let's times it by a value that will give us a sensible rotation. Okay. So that's now given us, there you go, wheels on the bus go round and round, or in the sports car in this case. And that's brilliant. Now, if at any point I grab this spline and I decide that I'm going to take one of the vertices and move it up, you'll notice that wheels still carry on turning round. Brilliant, absolute genius. So very, very procedural way of working. Now, one of the other things that I did show in my introduction was the use of a helper, which is a manipulator called a slider. So you can see here, create, helpers, slider. Click on the screen, and I'm going to need to go to the modify panel. I'll just call this helper. Call it whatever you want. Minimum value minus 45. Maximum value is plus 45. Snap value of 1 degree. And what I'm then going to do is to select the wheel. See, Z is a rotation there. In local. Let's see, local. Well, it was Y before, so it's probably going to be Z this time. Right click, wiring parameters, transform, rotation. Z rotation this time. Linked to the helper. And that's going to be my object slider. Its value. So the value is going to drive that rotation, and in order to check that, now you might find that your object sort of jumps slightly, so you might need to move that wheel just out a little way. In order to check this, I'm going to turn on my manipulator, and I'm going to come to my slider up here, and I'm just going to drag. That's going mad. So that's obviously kind of the way we want, but we want to divide this. We'll divide it by 100 and update, and then we'll try turning it. There we go. Now that's kind of turning the wrong way for me. So I'm going to say minus value. Update this, and then when I move the slider left, and right, there we go, we can actually steer the car properly. So I'll do the same over here. Let's get rid of that. Right click, wire parameters, transform, rotation, Z rotation, linked to slider, and actually linked to its value. Value drives rotation. I'm guessing again, probably minus value. Divided by 100 just to calm it down. Connect that. Move it back into the car slightly. There we go. Move that in as well. Turn on my manipulators and then just test this. There we go. So now we've got the steering, which is brilliant. If I turn off manipulators, if I actually select that, move back to frame 0, and then turn on the manipulators. Turn on my auto key. I can, oh, here we go. Oh, okay, it's because we've got that selected, that's why this is going doolally. Let's come around here. Right, so first off, we are going to helpers, turn on manipulators. Between 0 and probably 10, we are going to steer this way. So there you go, that's steering that way. Then I'm going to have straightened up, so the slider will have to come back at this stage. So it turns, straightens up. At this point, wheels would have probably turned the other way, but up until then, just here, they're going to be straight, so let's straighten them out. There we go. Turning wheels really by now should have straightened back up again as well. And maybe just gone a little bit over to the side there. There we go. Turn off my auto key. I'll just select the car here. And as you can see, as we go down, we've now got wheels that are turning and actually steering the car as it goes down that piece of road. And all we've really done there, the only keyframes that we've put in are the ones for the helpers to steer the wheels. Everything else has been completely procedural. So if at any point anybody says to you, oh, okay, we need to change this aspect, or we need, the car needs to go faster, or we need to change the path that it's taking, or, maybe we need to maneuver around an obstacle, anything like that, you can do it really quickly by changing the path, and then you can just change the steering simply on one slider. So all of that control there that you really need has just come down to just one slider. The rest of it's completely procedural. Very straightforward. I've gone over it about 3 or 4 times in here just to kind of help reinforce it. But go back over this video, have a try of it yourself, and see how you get on. Thanks.